Our smart homes are built around a collection of single-purpose hubs, dongles and gateways, one for Zigbee, another for Thread, something else for Bluetooth, and yet another box to bridge it all together. But what if we had one device that could replace the whole lot? Well, what we're looking at today is the SMLight Ultima, and it's available to buy now. It's a multi-radio, multi-peripheral smart adapter that is feature-packed and can control devices across Thread, Zigbee, Z-Wave and infrared, all from one unit. It just might be the most over-engineered smart home device I've ever tested on the channel, and I mean that in the best possible way. In this video, I'm looking at what the Ultima has to offer, trying it out with some devices, and ultimately seeing what it can do with Home Assistant. Hey everyone, my name's Simon and welcome to Byte of Geek, a channel that's all about Home Assistant and smart home technology. So a big thank you to SMLight for sending me out their new Ultima multi-radio adapter to test and review on the channel. As always, they've had no editorial input into this video and you'll get my honest thoughts and opinions about it. So on the box then, you'll see the extensive list of features that the Ultima has to offer, including built-in support for Zigbee, Matter over Thread, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but it doesn't stop there and we'll talk about this in just a moment. Inside the box we have the adapter itself, which I have to say is a lot smaller than what I was expecting it to be given the pictures that had been shared previously, and it's actually about the same size as a USB hub. The casing is all plastic with lots of ventilation gaps all around it, so it should keep itself cool, and certainly during my testing it was barely getting warm at all. Alongside the adapter you also get an antenna for each of the built-in radios. On the top of the unit you've got various buttons and status LEDs, the IR transmitter and a multicoloured LED strip. Then on the front you have a couple of USB-C ports and the IR receiver. On the left side is space for an optional microphone, and on the right is a USB-A port. On the base is an expansion connection which I think might be related to the UPS, and on the rear is another USB-C port, an RJ45 port, an audio port and two antenna connections. Now out of the box the Ultima already comes with a huge range of features, but one of the big benefits of this device is its expandability, and SMLight have designed this with the ability to connect on additional modules according to your requirements. So along with the adapter itself, they've also sent me a 4G module, and with this installed you can put in a SIM card, and then this operates either as the primary or backup connection to the adapter, making this great for remote installations or maybe a temporary setup where you might not want or have access to Wi-Fi. They also sent along a Z-Wave module, and I don't have any Z-Wave devices, so I'm not really going to be able to test this out. However, if you're using Z-Wave in your smart home, then this makes a great addition to the Ultima. But I'm curious though, hit the like button if you'd like to see me feature more Z-Wave on the channel. The Ultima can be powered by the USB-C port. However, SMLight also sent over the PoE module, which is something I currently use for my Zigbee adapter, so I'll be using this just to keep the cabling tidy. Along with the modules, you also get the appropriate antenna to go with them, so fully loaded you end up with 4 antennas in total. Now installing the modules requires you to take the adapter apart, the instructions for which are on the website, and they require you to insert something like a flat screwdriver between the top of the front USB-C port and the case, and then slide the cover off whilst pressing the screwdriver on the top of the USB-C port. This felt far too prone to user error for me, and I do think this process could be vastly improved just by using some screws in the bottom of the case instead. However, once the case was apart, I then had access to the main board, and as you can see, it's nicely designed and laid out with everything clearly marked. On the back left, we have the space for the Z-Wave module. Next to the RJ45 port is space for the PoE module, And finally, on the back right is the location for the 4G module. There is another 3-pin block on the front left, and I'm assuming that that is where the microphone module would connect to. Installing the modules is straightforward enough, and as the radios have an antenna on them, you'll notice that the case has some knockout points that you'll need to push through to fit the connection through once the module is installed. Each module can only be installed one way and only in the appropriate space, and you just align the holes on the module with the pins on the main board and just push down. It really is simple to do. And once the modules are in place, just route the antenna wires out the way, feed the connection through the holes in the case, and replace the cover and tighten everything up. And if you enjoy this kind of smart home content, then hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss my next video. But after I had everything installed, I connected the Ultima via Ethernet and it was immediately available on my network. And as you can see, it's got quite an extensive control panel, very similar to other products in the SMLight range. First up, we have the dashboard showing you general information regarding the radios and their connectivity state, as well as information like the chip temperatures. Then we have the operating mode for the radios, and the reason the Ultima can operate as a multi-radio device is because it uses different chipsets for the radios. So for the first radio, we have the Silicon Labs EFR32MG24, and as you can see, this can be a Zigbee router, coordinator, or a matter over thread radio. The second radio is using the Texas Instruments CC2674P10, and this can be set up the same as the first radio, but it can also be configured to be a Zigbee hub. Finally, we have the third radio, which is using the Silicon Labs EFR32ZG23, and this is dedicated to Z-Wave. Now you'll notice that the Z-Wave radio has been marked as prototype, and that's because this radio is currently going through a certification process at the moment. You also have the option to set up a Bluetooth proxy via the onboard ESP32, and you can also enable an Ethernet to Wi-Fi bridge if that is required. There's also a Zigbee hub option, and this is all disabled until you enable the hub mode on the second radio. But basically it allows the device to run its own Zigbee network directly on the device without you needing an external computer to host the Zigbee stack. So it's perfect for building a self-contained setup or where you might want to reduce complexity in the hardware or software. As you can see here in the radios, if I go to enable this, then I get a big notification as to how this works. But basically, you're bypassing Zigbee to MQTT or ZHA while still being able to control Zigbee devices. We then have our network settings where you can set your IP address and DNS entries. And following that, we have MQTT settings. And here you can specify your broker details if you wanted to connect that. And following that, because we have the 4G module installed, we have information and options available to configure that. However, this is only available with the SIM card actually installed in the slot. As with other products in the SMLight range, we then have a configuration page that gives us exactly what we need to paste into Home Assistant should we want to connect to that, which just makes it super simple to get things set up. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Ultima has an infrared transmitter and receiver built in. So this next section gives you the ability to capture commands from your devices and then use them in automations in Home Assistant to have the Ultima replay them back to your device, which does open up some interesting opportunities. Let me know in the comments what you would use this for. You then have the buzzer control, and with this you can set up a rest command in Home Assistant and then use it in an automation to play a notification on the Ultima for you. You've also got settings for the ambient light, and this is just simple control of the color and the effect. But as with the buzzer, I think this would be great to have the ability to send over a rest command so that you can configure this as an alert if you needed to. We then have security options, the built-in WireGuard VPN, which is ideal for secure remote access to the Ultima, dynamic DNS if you prefer to access the Ultima via that method, USB to Ethernet pass-through mode, and finally scripts and automations, which is a nice way to automate the adapter using the Berry script language, and there's lots of information on the GitHub repository about this. I wanted to test the Ultima with Home Assistant, so how well does it actually work? Well, at the time of recording this video, the SMLight integration doesn't support the Ultima. However, I don't believe that it'll be like that for long. This is a new device and it does sometimes take a little while for things to catch up. That doesn't mean you can't use this in Home Assistant though. It's just you won't get access to all the features and entities available from the device. I connected the Ultima to my test Home Assistant instance, and in doing so I was able to set up one of the Zigbee radios via ZHA and then add in an Aqara button and a generic Zigbee plug without a problem, and as you can see they work perfectly fine. I was also keen to try out the infrared transmitter, and it's simple enough to capture the code from your remote. Just point it at the Ultima and it will show you what it's gone and captured, and then you can set up an automation in Home Assistant with the provided information to send back. It is worth noting that the angle for the infrared isn't super wide from what I can tell, so if you plan on using this, then placement of the Ultima or your device will be important, but still, it's a great feature to have built in. I also tried sending over a command for the buzzer using one of the examples, and it plays great. Let me know in the comments if you recognize the tune though. It's easy enough to set up, and if you're using it in the same room, then you'll certainly hear it playing. The Ultima is an exciting device, and I think it's a good decision by SMLight to have Addon Modules. They're not expensive and they add a lot to the overall functionality of the device. Not everyone will need them, and therefore it does bring down the base price of the system. It's not perfect though, and I think the method to take the plastic case apart needs to be improved. Admittedly, not everyone will be doing this, but for those that buy the additional modules, I can see some people getting upset because they've scratched or cracked the case, or even worse, damaged a USB port. This could have been a much easier thing to open with just 4 screws on the bottom of the case. I also noticed a slight issue with the 4G module, in that if you have that installed alongside the PoE adapter, then you're going to need to install the SIM card before you put it all back together. Otherwise you can't access the card slot. It isn't a big problem and really just something to be aware of. But again, it would have been better to have the slot in the back or the base of the case. These are small issues, however, and for the price, this is an excellent device. And when the SMLight integration supports it in Home Assistant, I'm hoping we'll get a ton of functionality available to us. And if you're like me and you're using multiple adapters in your smart home, then this hub seems like the perfect opportunity to be able to replace those adapters while significantly increasing the functionality overall. The Ultima is a very interesting and promising product that offers a huge benefit for those who need this level of functionality, and it really is quite staggering what has been achieved with this device. There is so much functionality that's been integrated into such a small unit, and if you have multiple protocols in use across your smart home, then this is certainly something to consider. If you want to pick up the SMLight Ultima, then it's available to buy now, and depending on where you buy it from, it starts from just £44, and that will get you the base unit. You can also get it with the various add-on modules, and if you wanted the same as what I've shown you here in this review with the 4G, the Z-Wave and PoE, then that is £76, which is a pretty good price for everything that you get. If you found this video helpful, then I'd appreciate a thumbs up, and why not subscribe to the channel for more smart home content like this. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.